Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, here we are with the legendary George. George, tell them the name of the YouTube channel.
It's the Happy Pill Project.
And what do they need to do? 3 things.
Like, share, and subscribe.
One more thing. Do one more thing.
One more?
Yeah, why not?
Like, share, subscribe, comment.
Leave a comment.
Yeah. High level
Be like
Jiu-Jitsu.
George, like, share, subscribe, comment.
Heck
Happy
yeah.
Pill Project.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. We're going to start with a drill. We had been working all these reversals, arm drags and clamps. So I'd like to pair them together now. And it'll make sense as the class goes through the class, right? So right now, the simple drill, but you're doing left and right. And I'm only going to ask you to do one thing, is to lift this man's his kneecaps higher than your hip line. If you've done that, your percentages of success are really high. Sometimes, Bill gave this speech recently when he got his black belt, and he said that I was doing his catch and release and catch and release.
He did this thing, which I know he does on purpose because he tells me to do it to people, called catch and release, where he gets you in positions but never lets you tap. So you're like exhausted, you're in pain, and you're never tapping. And it's just like...
And what I meant by it was like, I wanted as much practice on the entry point because my percentages of finishing were really high. The thing to get there is really hard. Once you get really good at it, the finishes, reversals, they come easy. That's the easy part. I think the hard part's the beginning of it, right? So we're going to do this drill, and it all makes sense at the end. All we had, your partner's like this. So all you have to do is push his hand to this side of your body line. So his hand's going to come across my center line. It's on this side. My secondary hand comes through. I pull forward, okay? I'm going to ask my partner if he could please not fall that easy so that I suck myself in. My second hand comes up. I lift him up. I set his feet are down. And this is what Bill was talking about, catch and release. I already got you over. So let me put you back down. Put your hands back up. Right, I go left, boom, boom. I'm pulling in, I lift up. And all you're doing is getting comfortable. His kneecap should go higher than your hip line. And you're learning how to do left, right, left, right, left, right. I'm asking you to do 10 counts, okay? So you're gonna do 2 rounds of 10 counts. Bottom player, all you have to do is put your hands back up here. That's all you have to do. Every time he resets, you put your hands back there. So you have triggers that when he's floating his hands, boom, there we go. We're shooting through, we're sucking in, and my first reaction is, whether it's his hip line or something, I gotta suck myself up, and all I have to do is get his knee lines higher than my hip. So you're learning how to drag. As we go through the rounds, I'm gonna ask you to increase your speed. Okay, so in the beginning, let's go slow. As we get into round 2 and 3, we're going to increase our speed. Later on, we're going to pair it with a different angle on the other side. So you're confusing them and what you're trying to attack. It'll make sense as we progress. So I'm going to ask you to please partner up and let's do it here and like this. So go to the gym and do some type of leg raises, man. Like this is how it is, guys, like this. And you're visualizing it in your head every step. Like, don't waste your drilling time. Otherwise, go in there and do crunches. They got a leg raise machine over there. You can do a whole bunch of stuff. A whole bunch of personal trainers in here, give you a whole bunch of workouts. So what is this? The guy's coming, he's putting his pot, and you're coming like, what is that? What is that? It started here. I said from the very beginning, 5 minutes ago, his hands are here. So you're getting triggers, right? You're getting triggered. When a guy throws a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, only thing that guy's doing, the difference between the great hitters, is they have a zone. And that ball went in that zone, and the zone's about this big. And that's the great hitters. And the all-time greats, the zone's probably like this, right? But now you're like this. This is your zone. It's about that big. And you had no visualization at all in your drilling. And this guy's feeding you this pocket, and you're like, all right, go in the other room, go do your ab exercises. I get it. Summer's coming. You want some good abs. I get it. So let's visualize it. Don't go through the motions. That's silly. You're wasting your time. You might as well run in a circle and warm up like that. Let's do it again here. I have my insteps, and I made my first grip, and I see people making this grip. This is the easiest grip in the world to break. I mean, it doesn't even make a difference if he pummels, but even if he just brings his elbow to this elbow, I can't hold it. Right? So I didn't want him to grip me either because I'm like this. You know what he's going to do? He's going to pull his hand like this and then start grabbing my hand, and all of a sudden he's flaring his leg, and now this went south so fast on you. When I say visualization, He's in this circle right here, right? He's in this circle. And I don't want him to break my grips. That when I grip him, I want to hold him, because we went through all these sequences last week that potentially I go grip this and I'm like this and he's yanking me away and I go, okay, maybe I kick this out. We went through these whole sequence with triangles and all these other ones. But it all starts here. And if I backtrack, 5 minutes ago, I told you the hardest part, and we go back to Bill when he was talking about catch and release, hardest part is the freaking entry. And now you want to short the entry and only worry about picking them up, and then you can't reverse anybody, right? So you're like this, and he wants to grab my hands too, because if he grabs my hands, now I can't grab him, and now he starts using his forearms to release my hooks, and now I can't even get my hands back, and I'm trying to use this one leg to recover. This is going to go south again. So you got to understand this larger picture of why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm just not trying to tell you to do it just to have fun of like holding hands. That's not what we're trying to do. I'm like this. And now if I put my hands and he's trying to grab my hands and I go, okay, I just grabbed, I didn't grab onto his wrist. Okay, I grabbed onto his hand. So when he puts his elbow to my elbow, it doesn't make a difference. Okay, this thing can articulate a lot of different ways. But if I go grab onto this wrist, it's going to break that grip in 2 seconds, right? So visualize it. Top player, you should have triggers. Remember, I just had that analogy about the baseball player and that ball coming into the zone. He doesn't randomly swing. That's the difference between the guy making the majors or not. He went into that zone, and that thing is in the zone. And I go, all right, I got that thing. And now I'm hitting this thing, and now I'm sucking myself in. The rest of it is easy. I mean, it's so many combos. He brings this leg up, I'm lifting him up, I spin him, I go out S grip, I take my legs out in an S setting and come up. I mean, the combos are just endless in how you could play this one. I could kick out that far side leg, I could hit a triangle. I mean, you want to keep going? But it all started with this. It all started with this. So let's grab the hand, shove it down, and throw through. We're not going to go back to it yet. I'm going to pair it with another one. So when we're like this, and I'm going in and out, and I'm trying my best to grab a hand, leave this pocket open, okay? And this is what they're doing. They're trying to put their hands in my biceps, and I'm going, okay, I got this hand, and now that pocket's open. So I'm shooting my hand through, because if I can get my hand, I couldn't push this down, but I got my hand through this pocket at the lat muscle. So I don't need this at this point. I reach up and I grab both. Okay, so now I'm sitting behind here. This is what we did last week, right? Because now I sucked them up and now my hands are together. And now we went through a reversal where we took these hands and transferred them to this collarbone. So now you're mixing and marrying opposite sides, almost like passing. Passing, I tell you, you could sprawl to one side because you don't need to sprawl on the other because you can marry up something else. So most of the room is on this side, so I'll set this on this side. This is how we are, hands above. So I'm going to transfer these hands to this clavicle because I would love my elbow line to come through this pocket. I'm going to elevate with this leg. I'm going to kick out my bottom leg through the pocket underneath, and I have a goal at this point, is to get these toes on the mat from this leg and my kneecap facing downwards so that I get some generating horsepower from this leg. So we're like this at this point. I'll repeat it again. My hands were here, right? So he couldn't punch me. My head is really tight to his head. I'm trying my best so that I can't get hit or to release him. I don't want him to go anywhere. I've got him to this point. I comboed the other one with this one. Now I take my hand and I switch them over to this side. Now it gives me the opportunity to start lifting him up and taking the leg I said, the one I'm tapping on the mat. I told you earlier, just a second ago, I said I want to get those toes to the mat. What I mean by it is I want to get the toes to the mat. Now my kneecap is facing the mat. Now I can push off with that leg to get on top of him. That makes sense? So now you're starting to see the pairs, because what I had you do before was left, right, but a lot of people are just going through the motions. Like, let's correct that, because you want to have you come here this early, you want to have a high level of success. So if the picture's painted a certain way, maybe that might trigger something within you to go, I got to do that different, okay? So we're said now at this point, I was trying my best to grab, and I'm here and trying to grab, and he's got a flare, and he's got to put his hands on my bicep, and I go, Okay, can't get over there. So I pummel over the top and I shoot through. Now my hand's on the back side of his body. I don't need this grip at this point. So I reach up and I grab both. My hands are on this side. I only wanted penetration in this triangle. I got in there, okay? So the moment I'm here, this hand was here, his hand could grab anywhere. My hands, there's nobody behind him that are gonna unpair my hands at this point. So my hands have penetrated through the pockets, right? This hand's no problem. This is the one that I saw the opening on, so I shot it through. My insteps were always here, so I could always slide myself in and out, and I was looking for that grab, and now he's like this, and he's got his hands up, and he's touching me, and I'm going, okay, my hand's in, exactly where we are. This hand can drop now because I'm gonna put my hand on the other side. I'm right behind the spinal cord. No one's gonna unlock me at this point. All I want him is on top of me. So I yank him up and now my hands are here. So let me go this way because most of the people are on this side. Right, so at this point my hands are here. So I'm gonna ask you to rotate your hands to this side and we can combo this up. This one is not an easy reversal because there is a lot of body weight and you only have this one butterfly and there's so much mechanics of the turn underneath. It usually pairs to something else. You're like this triangle and you can't get them up. So now this leg either goes into a triangle set or potentially pushes this out and comes over. But I'm gonna ask you, just because I like the mechanics of the move, that you start to understand, like, I gotta get myself out of there, I gotta get myself out of there. So if you don't short the move, it opens up so many. I'll tell you this really quick story. Is that there's a young man, he's a black belt, he's really, really good. He's a silver medalist at the Nationals, and he's a really good footlocker. And then I've watched him compete, and he comes down and he asks me questions and stuff. And I said to him, you gotta get better at reversals, man. And he was like, but Professor, like this. I said, no, you don't understand. It's like, yeah, I get it. You finish the guy that's the weekend warrior, but you can't finish the guy at the black belt division. And you're definitely not finishing the ADCC player because you can't kazushi him enough. And every time your leg injury comes in, you're short on the kneecap. And it has to do because you don't know how to reverse somebody well. Because if you're really good at reversals, that person will do everything possible not to get reversed. And that's when everything opens up to keep their bases. And now you can pick and choose triangle, armbar, all these things. But you got to get good at reversals because now he's not. And everything's about a power move. And then when I put him with super, because sometimes on Saturday some good players come. And it's fun for me to watch because then I tell them the opposites of what they should counter with each other. And if you were here on Saturday, you got to see the two of them who I'm talking about roll. If you were watching, it was a spectacular roll. But he couldn't get him over. And every time he had him up in the air, he was short on the entries. So that's why it's so critical to get good at reversals. Really, really good. I'll tell you a really quick story. On Saturday, they told this story about me getting silver at Pans and black belt division one year. I fought in the finals against Daniel Marias. It was just a weird thing that we were sitting over there, Martin, and I think Cy was there maybe. And there was a gentleman that knew Marcelo and Daniel Marias, and I made the finals of the Pans, and I lost 2-0. The gentleman took me down super early. I went to grab his wrist. He dragged me. Next thing I know, I'm down 2-0. And I tried for 10 minutes to reverse that man, probably 9 minutes and 45 seconds because it was 10-minute matches. And then I realized, man, I suck at reversals. It wasn't a thing. It was like, you get reversed. It's about submission. Then I went to compete, and I realized, like, man, that is such a short in my game. So that's why I don't want it to be. I know there's a lot of young men that want to continue to compete. And also, like, I want you to be able to get deep in those entries because then the game just unleashes on you if you're really good at reversals. So let's partner up and do it again. Let's watch. She's shooting that thing down and going right back. Shoot into, the first one.
yeah.
I want to go back to the first one.
The first one.
First one. So you're grabbing fingers, you're just shoving one down. Yes, right away, picking them up. Okay, picking them up. Okay, that's all you have to do. So then later we could start pairing this together, but you have to get, Ethan said it famously, and in order to get elite at read and reaction speed, it has to get instinctual. Like by the time the brain thinks, like it's too late. It's just way too late. That's why, that saying that drillers make killers, that's what they mean. Like you have to drill. And if you don't drill, I mean, it's evident, obvious. My vocabulary is not as big as this one, but you can list every single word that means exactly the same thing. It's obvious. Okay, so hands back up, right? And we're visualizing it. Think, don't waste your time. You have a crappy partner, then let him do what he wants to do. But you internally visualize it. There's that great story of that gentleman that was a POW and was an avid golf player that almost like was professional. And he was a POW in Vietnam for 5 years. Came out finally, plays a round of golf and shoots like 4 over, which is crazy. And they said to him like, man, you haven't played golf in 5 years. And he said, no, I played 2 rounds every day for the last 5 years. I mean, this was required of me. So, I mean, I still do it. Like, so visualize it. Those hands are coming into that hitting zone that we talked about, right? Boom, right there. Shoot it down right away. Boom, you're in. You're picking, you're reaching, you're lifting. Okay, so let's go back to that. You got 30 reps on each person. You should be doing 5, 5, 5. I'm not going to be one side dominant. Obviously in the NBA, like if all you could shoot with, I mean, shooting is different, but layups and stuff, they both can work both hands. So you got to be good at this. This is dragging, okay? And all your leg entries, and you never go, especially if you're a leg lock or arm bar, like I don't go, oh no, I'm on the right side, let me let go. No way, dude, that's like, forget about it. We're gonna all close our eyes and make you walk home. So let's part up and do it again. I'm passionate about BJJ. People have other hobbies. I'm crazy about this sport. It runs through my mind 24 hours a day. I can't push it out of my head. So I'm passionate and you guys getting better. And that's why I push hard. If you want to take somebody else's class and they walk through the lesson plan, go right ahead. Not in this one. Like, I love the Shark Tank. That's how I was brought up. So you got a 2-minute break before we go live. Let's rock.